Welcome back to episode 4 of this business English series, Mastering Meetings and Presentations. Today we're going to look at 9 expressions that you can use for transitioning between topics in your presentation. If you missed the previous episodes, be sure to check them out. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into our topic, transitions. So transitions are phrases that we use to connect topics. Think of it as a bridge. And if you do not have clear transitions, your presentation could be confusing for your audience. So it's very important to be able to master your transitions. So I'm going to break down these transitions into 3 sections for you. Section 1 is neutral. Section 2, to transition between similar ideas. And section 3, to completely change ideas. So let's go ahead and get started with section 1, those general transitions. Basically, these are clear and neutral ways that you can transition between topics that you can pretty much use in any situation. Expression 1. Let's move on to the next point. This one is very common. And what you see here is we're using the phrasal verb move on. What does it mean? It means we are here and we're going to move on to the next topic. For example, now that we've discussed the budget, let's move on to the next point, marketing strategies. Expression number 2. Now that we've covered this section, let's jump into the next section. To cover is a word that means to cover something. And we can think of this figuratively as here is a topic and we have covered it. We have completely talked about it. And now we're going to jump into the next section. It means to get started. So we're going to get started on that next section. And now expression number 3. This one is pretty simple to understand. Now, let's take a moment to look at. Basically, we're just saying in this next moment, we're going to see this topic. Now, let's take a moment to look at our plans for next month. So there you have it. 3 great ways that you can neutrally transition between topics. Now, we're going to see 3 ways that we can transition between similar topics or add more information to the previous topic. Expression number 4, building on what we just discussed. So build on is a phrasal verb, and we're using this word build. So think about it. Here is one topic, and then we're going to build on that topic. We're going to add more. For example, building on what we just discussed about sales, let's talk about customer feedback. Expression number 5, to dive deeper into that. So let's look at this word dive. Dive is what we do when we go swimming and we do this into the water. And then deep refers to how far down you're going to go. So we're going to dive deeper into a topic. We're going to learn more details about the previous topic. For example, to dive deeper into customer satisfaction, let's take a look at the customer surveys that we received. Expression number 6, just to take that a step further. So we have take a step. Step is what we do when we walk or run. Each little movement is a step. And further means to go a longer distance. So we're going to take this topic another step further. We're going to talk about it a little more or maybe a lot more in detail. For example, just to take that a step further, here's how we can apply these findings to our new product launch. So these transitions are so important to communicate to your audience that you're staying on the same topic and they need to listen closely because you're going more and more in detail. And finally, section 3. Sometimes you need to completely change directions. And using these transitions will communicate to your audience that we're going to start looking at something completely different. Expression number 7. Let's pivot in another direction. So what's the meaning of pivot? This is actually a term very commonly used in sports like basketball and baseball. It's the idea that there is a fixed spot and it's moving in different directions. So think about it. In basketball, you are not allowed to move both feet. So one foot is still and you pivot moving with the other foot. So pivot is to move in a different direction. For example, let's pivot in another direction and talk about the company's marketing campaign. Expression number 8, switching gears for a second here. This one is really good when you want to just change the topic real quick and come back to the previous topic. And switching gears. So switch means to change, okay? And gears is what we refer to, for example, in a car, right? You go into first gear, second gear, okay? You're switching gears. And that's what we're doing here in the presentation. You're switching gears, you're changing the subject. For example, switching gears for a second here, I would like to talk about the company's Christmas party. Finally, expression number 9, shifting focus now to. Shift is another way to say making changes, maybe small changes. Shifting to the left, shifting to the right. We also use this in gears. You can say shifting gears. For example, shifting focus now on our sales performance from last quarter. So those final expressions are great ways to transition, letting your audience know that you're going to mix it up and change the subject. If you'd like to have more practice with these expressions, be sure to check out the free resource in the description. And if you found this video helpful, please subscribe, like, and comment so that you can stay tuned for episode 5, where we will talk about expressions that you can use for staying on topic. Thanks for watching this video, and see you in the next one.